This is from the 11 a.m. advisory from the National Hurricane.
Various reports mention that in the last 24 hours, Hurricane Henry has strengthened into a Category 2 storm, battering the eastern coast and expected to make landfall in Annieville. Residents in coastal towns, especially Annieville, are being urged to evacuate immediately. Dakota calls her usual restaurant to order food, but they tell her they're closing due to the severe weather. Trembling with fear because of her agoraphobia, she forces herself to step outside. The sound of sirens makes her heart race. As she turns back, she nearly collides with her neighbor, who looks concerned and asks if she's okay, mentioning that he hasn't seen her outside since her mother passed away. He then suggests she should evacuate with his family, but she declines the offer. Across town, Dee watches as her older brother Ron dives into the water, while her younger brother Will cheers him on. Their moment of joy is cut short when their foster father, Billy Olson, angrily scolds them for being out in the rain, snapping that he'll be the one paying the medical bills if they get sick.
Yeah, like you would ever take us to the doctor.
He tells her to say it louder, but Dee remains silent. Not far away, at McKay's meat plant, Lisa, who is 9 months pregnant, rushes to her car and gets inside. Her co-worker, Bob, advises her to drive safely, and she smiles, wishing him the same. On the phone, Lisa's mother again brings up her decision to move from New York to Annieville for her fiancé, who abandoned her after she became pregnant.
Can we just not talk about him?
Her mother then asks if she has given any more thought to having a water birth at the hospital like her sister. Clearly exasperated, Lisa says she hasn't decided yet. Her mother then asks why she hasn't left town. Lisa explains that her boss made her come into work, but assures her she plans to leave soon. Her mother, now worried, tells her the interstates are already closed due to flooding, according to the news. Meanwhile, Dr. Dale Edwards, a marine biologist, listens closely to the news report about the approaching storm. His colleague Brian asks how bad it's going to get. Dale says it'll be severe, noting that marine life south of Bermuda is already moving north to escape. Brian then asks if he managed to tag all the bull sharks, but Dale shakes his head, explaining that far too many are being driven in by the storm. At that moment, Greg, the harbor master, informs them that the hurricane could potentially intensify into a Category 6. Dale immediately calls his niece. Dakota answers on the first ring. He asks if she has any way of leaving town. If not, he offers to come get her himself. However, Dakota insists on staying in the house. Dale warns her that the storm is about to make landfall on Annieville, and the house she's in might not hold, and she could end up swimming in her own room. Dakota brushes it off, joking that it might actually be fun, and adds that news reports always exaggerate things. Dale softens, telling her he understands what she's going through, and that he misses her mother too, but hiding in the house won't stop the pain. She laughs, teasing him for being bad at parenting. He laughs along, admitting he's still new to it, then promises to come get her as soon as he can. In the car, Billy continues berating the siblings for leaving the house without his permission, calling them little shits and threatening to send them back to foster care if they don't behave. Looking out the window, Ron notices people evacuating and asks if they should leave too, but Billy brushes it off, confidently saying it's nothing more than a bit of wind and rain. On the news, an anchor reports on Hurricane Henry, revealing that it has intensified into a Category 5 storm. Dakota connects her phone and watches an old video of herself playing with her mother while her father records them. Meanwhile, Billy drives the siblings back home. Curious, Dee asks what would happen if the rising water breaks the windows.
Reinforced glass.
He then heads down to the basement, where he greets his wife, Rachel.
You know, I caught them little bastards up by the creek swimming with damn snakes.
Rachel tells him to calm down, reminding him that they're being paid to take care of those bastards. Just then, Dee appears, saying they're hungry.
Are those steaks?
Billy snaps, telling her it's none of her damn business. Rachel tosses her a packet of bread, and Billy warns her never to come down there again. As Dale steps off his boat, he is stopped by a local news anchor named Joe, who asks for his thoughts on the shark attack earlier that morning. Caught off guard, Dale asks what incident he's talking about. Joe explains that a couple at Myrtle Beach was attacked by a great white shark, with eyewitnesses claiming they saw 2 of them.
Great whites don't hunt in packs. What you're describing sounds more like bull shark.
Elsewhere, Lisa tries to call for help, but the area around her is completely deserted. She gets into her car just as her mother calls, but the connection drops. Trying to steady herself, Lisa turns on some music to calm her nerves. On the news, a reporter advises residents who chose to stay behind to write their names on their arms with permanent marker, so authorities can identify their bodies once the storm passes. Moments later, the power suddenly cuts out. The levee soon gives way and seawater rushes into the town. Lisa drives through the heavy rain and comes across Bob. He tells her to turn back, warning that trees are falling on that side. But when they hear the water rushing in, he tells her to go straight anyway and head for higher ground. Lisa tries to push past the branches but couldn't. Bob continues forward, but moments later, the floodwaters hit him. Dakota looks out her window, watching in shock as the water level rises rapidly. Back at Billy's house, the siblings stare out at the rapidly rising water and tries to warn Billy.
It's just a little bit away.
Rachel tells Billy they need to leave immediately. Ron suggests using his truck since it has a snorkel. Rachel dismisses the idea as stupid.
Oh, hang on, the boy's right. The car's got a snorkel.
Out on the streets, everything is submerged. Lisa's car is carried by the current, but it soon gets lodged against a large branch, leaving her trapped inside. The truck Bob is driving slams into a statue and splits apart, spilling chum into the water. From her window, Dakota spots a car stuck against a branch nearby. Nearby, two men in a boat row toward their truck when they hear a woman scream. One of them jumps into the water and swims toward her car, trying to calm her down as he promises to get her out. He then asks his companion to grab a cutter from the truck, but suddenly he's yanked underwater. The man calls out for his friend but gets no response. He tells Lisa he's going to look for him, but she panics and begs him not to go. Watching from inside, Dakota shouts, "Sharks!" Lisa immediately picks up on it and screams for the man to get away. The man watches as his friend becomes prey to a shark. Hearing the commotion, Bob tries to force his way out of his wrecked truck, but he too is attacked and pulled under. Lisa watches helplessly as the man is attacked and killed right in front of her. On the boat, Dale watches the news reporting that I-17 is completely flooded.
That's up toward Annieville, right? Yeah.
He glances at his laptop, then realizes the flooding shouldn't be reaching that far unless the levee has broken.
How are we gonna get up there?
Dale decides to ask Joe for help, promising he can shoot whatever he wants as long as he gets them and the boat as close to Annieville as possible. Back at Billy's house, the siblings watch as their foster parents head into the garage. Moments later, they spot a shark moving in the water. As Billy looks for his truck keys, a shark suddenly attacks him. Rachel screams as he's pulled under. He resurfaces. Then Rachel is dragged underwater. The siblings scream, begging Billy not to leave them, but he ignores them and rushes into the garage, opening the truck door in a desperate attempt to escape. Before he can get in, the shark attacks again, dragging him under. Shaken, Dee turns to Ron and asks if this means they'll get new foster parents. Rachel, still alive for a moment longer, desperately calls out for help, but she is viciously attacked and dragged beneath the water. Dakota frantically tries to call for help while Lisa continues screaming from inside her partially submerged car. She tells Lisa she's trying to get help, but Lisa panics, saying the water is rising fast. Dakota points out she can't possibly help her since sharks are circling everywhere and have already torn two men apart. Struggling to stay calm, Lisa breathlessly reveals that she's pregnant, insisting she won't let her baby die before he even gets to take his first breath. Dakota breaks down for a moment, trembling and on the verge of tears, but she quickly pulls herself together and tells Lisa she's coming to help. Rushing into the kitchen, Dakota grabs a knife. She pauses, breathing heavily, clearly terrified, but Lisa reassures her, telling her she's doing great. As Dakota steps outside, she slips and falls into the water, but quickly scrambles back onto the car. From there, she jumps onto a nearby rooftop while sharks circle below. Gathering her courage, she drops back into the water and climbs onto the tree branch where Lisa's car is stuck. With shaking hands, she starts cutting through the branches. Finally, Lisa is freed, and the two of them make it back inside the house. Lisa thanks her. Meanwhile, Brian points out that Nellie isn't far from Dakota's house. Confused, Joe asks what Nellie is. Dale explains that Nellie is a pregnant great white shark they've been tracking for the past 3 years. Joe grins and tells his cameraman they're about to get some great footage. Suddenly, the van comes to a halt. They realize the roads ahead are completely washed out and flooded. Back at Billy's house, Ron suggests they should close the door to keep the sharks from getting inside. Dee offers to do it. She carefully climbs onto the counter and reaches for the door, but just as she tries to shut it, the sharks force their way in, making her lose her balance. Ron quickly comes to her rescue. Over at Dakota's house, she hands Lisa a towel. Lisa asks if she lives alone, and Dakota nods. When Lisa asks about her parents, Dakota quietly admits that her father died years ago and her mother passed away just a few months earlier. Lisa gently apologizes. Lisa then asks if the roof is accessible, and Dakota says yes. Lisa explains that they need to signal rescuers, some kind of distress sign so they know they're inside. Suddenly, Lisa winces in pain as her contractions begin.
I think it's starting.
Dakota gathers some curtains and lays out a help sign on the roof before heading back inside. Lisa then asks Dakota to check how big the opening is so they can estimate how soon the baby will come.
Excuse me? Trust me. I don't want to do this any more than you do.
As Lisa lifts the blanket, Dakota gasps. Alarmed, Lisa asks if everything is all right. Dakota nods and says she can see the baby's head, about 2 to 3 inches out. Lisa sighs and says the baby is coming much sooner than expected, which is bad since the house might not hold much longer. As night falls, Brian informs Dale that they've lost signal. Dale tells Joe to pack light since they'll be continuing by boat. Joe hesitates and asks if it's even safe.
Boy, 5 storm! With sharks on the loose! Now I'm pretty fucking sure that doesn't count as safe.
Joe then questions how they're supposed to know where they're going if all the tech is down. Meanwhile, Ron tells the others they need to get to the roof since the water keeps rising. But first they need something to distract the sharks. Dee mentions she saw some steak in the basement, and Ron agrees it could work, but Will hesitates, reminding them that Billy never allowed them down there.
Fuck Mr. Olsen. Fuck that fucking fuck Mr. Olsen.
Outside, the rain intensifies. Dakota tells Lisa she spotted the boat the 2 men arrived in earlier, but it's far from the house. Suddenly, Lisa cries out as another contraction hits. Dakota tenses, breathing heavily. Through the pain, Lisa speaks to her baby, pleading with him to hold on a little longer because it's not safe to come out yet. Dakota glances outside at the rising water and offers to go get the boat, but Lisa warns her. The water is full of sharks. Thinking quickly, Dakota recalls something her uncle once taught her, that vibrations can mimic the distress signals of injured fish.
He's a marine biologist.
She gathers anything that vibrates to use as a distraction.
Please.
Lisa asks if there are any painkillers, and Dakota tosses her a bottle.
Motherfucker.
Dakota then puts the vibrating devices in separate plastic bags and tosses them into the water. Lisa thanks her, and Dakota nods before stepping into the water. Back at Billy's house, he asks the siblings if Rachel made it, but they say no. Then Ron confronts him, calling Billy out for trying to escape in the truck without them. Billy quickly claims he was going to get help, but Ron mutters, "Yeah, right."
Don't you sass me, Ray.
It's wrong.
Billy then orders Ron to go get help. The two argue, with Ron pointing out that sharks are literally circling around them. Billy brushes it off, saying sharks don't like children, something about their smell, comparing it to how dogs don't eat their own waste. Ron immediately counters, saying their neighbor's dog definitely eats its own. Irritated, Billy snaps at him to just go. Will notices the foster care stipend check and remarks that it's a lot of money. Ron, in disbelief, points out the hypocrisy. Billy lives comfortably eating steaks while they survive on plain bread. Billy suddenly softens, claiming he loves them, but the act quickly drops. He threatens Ron, warning that if he doesn't go get help, he'll use his other arm to force him. Before things escalate further, Dee suddenly kicks Billy into the water. Within seconds, a shark attacks and devours him. Dee urges Ron to head into the basement while the sharks are distracted. Ron dives down and manages to grab the steak. He notices the guns nearby, but they're stuck. As he turns to leave, his shirt gets snagged on a hook. Ron frees himself, grabs a box and swims back up, narrowly escaping. Meanwhile, Dakota's house continues to sink beneath the rising water. Outside, Dakota swims toward the drifting boat. Along the way, she spots a shark biting into one of the vibrating devices she threw out. She pushes forward, swimming as fast as she can, while the sharks begin attacking the decoys. Just when it seems like the sharks are about to attack her, they swim past her quickly, as if frightened. Moments later, Dakota looks down and sees why. A massive great white shark gliding beneath her. Terrified, she scrambles onto the boat, pulling herself up and shutting her eyes, overwhelmed by how close she came to death. Back with Dale, the group inches closer to Annieville. Curious, Joe asks why he chose to study sharks. Dale explains that he grew up along the banks of the Zambezi River, where there was one animal everyone feared most: the hippopotamus. Smart, fast, and extremely territorial. He recalls how, one day, While searching for crayfish in the river, a hippo suddenly charged at him. Just as it was about to attack, it was ambushed by 2 bull sharks. Dale remembers seeing something he had never seen before in the hippo's eyes: fear. He says that was when his fascination with sharks began. Joe then asks if he ever discovered anything that bull sharks are afraid of. Dale nods, saying they tend to avoid larger sharks, and that certain electrical currents can also disorient them. Suddenly, Brian shouts that the signal is back online. As they check the data, they realize the waters around Annieville are swarming with sharks. As dawn breaks, Dakota jolts awake on the boat and sees that her house is almost completely submerged. She grabs the fishing line and paddles away. Inside the house, Lisa starts to panic but forces herself to calm down, turning on some music to steady her breathing. Back at Billy's house, Ron opens the cover on the stake. He admits he could not grab the gun, but he did manage to grab a box from the basement. Inside, they discover dynamite sticks. Thinking quickly, they tape the stake to the dynamite and toss it into the water, waiting for the sharks to take the bait. But nothing happens. Will then points out something he saw in a shark documentary, that vibrations attract sharks, so they begin creating vibrations in the water. Sure enough, the sharks start circling. They rush through the water towards safety, but Ron's shirt catches again, though he manages to free himself just in time. Moments later, the dynamite explodes, killing the sharks. Dakota's house finally collapses under the pressure of the flood. Lisa is forced to swim up, and she gives birth right there in the water, screaming in pain. She lifts her newborn son out of the water and gently soothes him. The sharks begin circling around her. Thinking quickly, she places the baby on a floating box, grabs a sharp piece of wood, and uses it to keep them at bay. Dakota shouts that she's almost there. As she gets closer, she spots a shark approaching Lisa from behind and quickly fires the fishing line. Reaching her, Dakota takes the baby from Lisa. But suddenly, a shark slams into the boat, knocking Dakota off balance. At that moment, Dale arrives and throws a device into the water that emits an electrical current, driving the sharks away. However, one of them still charges straight toward Dakota and Lisa. Dale quickly pulls both of them onto the boat. Relieved, Dakota hugs her uncle. Lisa asks for his phone, and Joe hands it to her. She calls her mother and shows her newborn son. Dale tells Dakota that her mother would be proud of her, and she smiles. The siblings decide to leave Annieville and head to Florida. A few days later, Greg notices another hurricane forming, a new Category 5 storm heading straight for the Atlantic coast once again.